I don't know about you guys, but if you grew up in the early 2000s, especially in Southeast Asia, you probably know about GameHouse. For those of you who don't really know, GameHouse was the face of casual PC gaming back in 2000s. Titles like Feeding Frenzy, Cake Mania, all of that was produced or not produced, distributed by GameHouse. So, what is so strange about all of this? Well, let me tell you, because in this video, we're going to talk about how GameHouse became one of the biggest piracy cases in gaming history, and the scale of it was so massive that even today, it's still happening. And before we get into it, I just want to say that everything in this video is based on my own research and conclusions, and if you have a different perspective or additional information, feel free to share it in the comments below. So let's jump right into it. GameHouse was a real company founded in 1998 by Ben Exworthy and Gar Godfrey. They were a casual game distributor, kind of like an early Steam, except it was focused entirely on small downloadable games. And they were doing pretty well because by 2003, they were pulling in over $10 million in revenue. And to access their collections of games, you would usually visit their websites and manually download them. But keep in mind, back then, the internet wasn't nearly as accessible as it is today, and most of their games were only available as trials, meaning you could only play for about 60 minutes before hitting a paywall. That is GameHouse. Then there was the infamous 150 GameHouse collections. It was essentially a folder containing dozens of playable GameHouse games, and it was everywhere. Almost every PC seemed to have it. Even my school's computers had it. And it wasn't something that people usually download themselves because somehow it was already there, preloaded onto countless PCs, sitting as a folder right on the desktop. And this is why so many people share the same memories of GameHouse, because if it hadn't spread this way, it probably wouldn't have become nearly as well known as it is today. But there's just one problem. GameHouse was never came pre-installed with Windows, because Windows already had its own set of collection of games like Solitaire and Minesweeper, things like that. And I couldn't find a single piece of evidence that GameHouse, the actual company, ever released a collections like this. At least, not the one that everyone remembers. So how did these so-called GameHouse collections end up on so many computers? Even computers that had never been exposed to the internet.
Wild Tangent is a familiar name to most people who used a Windows computer throughout the 2000s. It was a company with a gaming service that came pre-installed on many of them.
To understand how this happened, we first have to look at GameHouse competitors at that time. There was a whole ecosystem of casual game distributors competing for the same space. The biggest name besides GameHouse was probably Wild Tangent. And guys, Wild Tangent is actually where I want to slow down for a second because it explains something important. Back then, Wild Tangent got a lot of heat for basically appearing on people's computer out of nowhere. People initially thought it was a spyware because brand new PCs that never been touched suddenly have this entire gaming platform running in the background. Turns out there was a simple explanation. In 2005, a Dell user asks exactly that questions on a Dell forum. Why is this on my new computer? And Dell actually responded, The Wild Tangent powered Dell game console was preloaded on select Inspiron and Dimension systems. So okay, that answers Wild Tangent. Companies can pay to get their apps or anything pre-installed on new PCs, but that doesn't answer GameHouse. Because I still can't find any deal, any partnership, any official records of GameHouse preloading a 150 game collections onto anything. So, if it wasn't an official partnership and it wasn't just sitting on the new machines the way Wild Tangent was, then something else must put it there. I stumbled upon a Reddit post from someone asking the exact same questions I was. They remembered the same 150 game collections on their PC, on their friend's PC, on a random burned disk floating around, but no idea who made it or how it spread so far. They called it a collections piracy, where instead of pirating one game, someone packages 100 of them together and let that spread as one unit. This is where things start to make sense, because back then, pirated CD shops sold everything bundled like this: movies, musics, PlayStation games, even YouTube videos burned into a disc and then sold. A bootleg game collections fits right into that world. But that still leaves a gap. Even pirated collections, you think, still need someone to seek it out and install it. And that doesn't explain how it ended up pre-installed identical on computers that were supposedly brand new. And guys, this is the part where I think I actually have the answer, because I used to work at a local pawn shop that specifically sold new and used laptops, where every time a new device came in, we do a fresh Windows install like the usual, then other essential software, all pulled off from a flash drive we kept behind the counter. And what did you know? GameHouse, specifically the 150 GameHouse collections folder, was part of that procedure. Every single machines that we sold went out with GameHouse already installed. It was just a folder, copy, paste and done, not even a 30 seconds of work. I bet every single resale shops and every guy doing fresh Windows install for cash had the exact same folder on their exact same flash drive. It was just passed around and copied for years. That's how you get the same 150 games in the same folder on the machines with no relations to each other. It was not a corporate rollout, more like a bootleg one spreading shop to shop the same way a cracked copy of Office does. So no, GameHouse never released these collections. It was never a partnership like Wild Tangent's deal with Dell. It was a pirated bundle that got treated like a default bloatware, quietly reinstalled onto brand new machines by the same people selling them to you. And somehow, that folder became a chunk of an entire generation's childhood.